If you're not in the habit of coming to 10 o'clock Bible study, this would be a good week to start. We are at one of my favorite chapters of the entire book of 1 Kings. We are at the 21st chapter. If you were to look at the heading in my Bible, it would call the 21st chapter, it would say this is about Naboth's vineyard. About a man named Naboth who owns this vineyard, and the king wants to buy it, and he refuses to sell, and that's about it. Doesn't sound that interesting, does it? But this isn't just a story about a land deal that doesn't go correctly. In fact, this situation and this story reveals a lot about what happens when maturity is missing, when spirituality is missing in us, when we use our power incorrectly, when we don't take responsibility well, when righteousness isn't a big deal, when we pretend to act good, but we're actually not. This one little story encompasses so many different things that I think we still need to think about, we still need to talk about, we still need to look within ourselves and see how we're doing. And it is just really going to be a great study and a great conversation. It'll give you lots to think about. In fact, we're going to spend 2 weeks on these 29 verses. So may I encourage you to go and read 1 Kings chapter 21 before you come Sunday morning, and that way you will know what the story is, you'll have some background. When we start talking about things, you'll know where they are. There are some huge issues to speak about, to think about, and to apply to ourselves here. 10 o'clock Sunday morning, 1 Kings chapter 21. Then in our sermon series, we continue along. We started this sermon series a few weeks ago, and we talked about, first of all, being led by God. The fact that God, like David says in the 23rd Psalm, is our shepherd. He is guiding us and looking after us and caring for us. And even in our hard times, even in our most difficult times, He walks with us through the valley of the shadow of death. He's never away from us, and that's a good thing to remember. The next week we talked about being confident in God, and we talked about Daniel, who was confident that God was looking after him and watching him, just like David was, and that made him do certain things and respond in certain ways. We encouraged each other to think about our confidence in God and not in ourselves. And then last week we talked about hearing God's promises rather than focusing on the negative things in our lives. That if we could get away from just focusing on the bad and we could think about what God has promised and the promises that He has kept and the promises that are yet to come and be fulfilled, then we would live differently. And so I tried to encourage you last week, we needed a different voice in our head, not just the horrible things of the world, that everything's falling apart, but that God is actually walking with us and looking after us. And we need to hear that voice. So this week we continue with that sermon series, and I want to talk to you about one aspect of our salvation that we may have forgotten about. One part that when we're converted to being followers of Christ, one part of our lives that maybe doesn't get the attention that it should, or maybe, sad to say, doesn't even become converted or different in some people. But this is absolutely necessary. Our belief in Christ, our belief in God, our Christian lives must find their way to this part of our hearts, to this part of our understanding of ourselves. It has to change this way we see ourselves. I'm not going to tell you any more than that, other than that the sermon comes from 2 Corinthians chapter 6, and its title is Sold. I don't know if you can guess what that means, but I'm going to convince you that that one little word, sold, will change everything. I'm looking forward to Sunday morning. It's been great to have kids in Sunday school. Lots of kids here last week. That was wonderful. Lots of new people around too. Lots of people coming back. It's just been really good to see activity around the church building throughout the week and again on Sunday morning. I'm looking forward to seeing you there on Sunday. Have a great weekend. See you Sunday morning.